So now that I've added my file to S3 bucket, I can come here and just click on refresh, and I can see that particular notification has been sent, and that data should be up in my in table in about 30 to 40 seconds. So that will happen. But in the meantime, what we'll try to do is, let's assume oftentimes we may have to deal with the cases where your Snow pipe may run into errors. Let's say the files that you have entered on your S3 bucket are not in sync with what your table configuration is, or for whatever the reason. If some errors happens, how does those errors be handled in a pipe, right? So what does and how to handle those, how to identify and handle those, that's what we'll be looking at today. So we can see those 100 rows have come up now. So now let's try to look at, we'll deliberately try to create some error and see how it will affect the pipe mechanism, and then how we can resolve those. That's what we'll try to do today. So first, since the file that we are dealing with is a CSV file, comma separated CSV, what I'll do is, just to bring in that error effect, I'll configure my table in Snowflake to read on a different delimiter. Instead of comma, I'll put some other delimiter and try to load this data from S3 bucket into my table and see what happens. So I will first create the table of first of all the file format object, the CSV file format with a different delimiter. I'll just use the pipe symbol here, and I'll run this, and I'll use this particular file format object to run my copy statement for the pipe. So I'll just, so this is a regular copy statement. So what I'll do now is, if I try to manually copy the data from my CSV S3 bucket into employees table, I will get this error saying that, hey, the delimiter is not matching and the configuration of the file and the table are not in sync. That's what will happen. Now let me go ahead and add another folder, add another file to S3 bucket, so that the notification will be triggered, and see how the pipe will handle that notification. So let me now add file number 2 and upload it. Once this is done, I'll go here and check my pipe for any notification, and I can see that the newly added data file has been sent. The notification has been sent. But let me now check the data, if it has copied into the table or not. And if I see it, there are only 100 rows. So even if I wait here for 30 to 40 seconds, this 100 rows will remain 100 rows, and the second file will not come into my table because of the error that we just saw when we manually copied. And but the unfortunate thing here is, the information will not be available with this simple command. It will show that it has been sent, but we'll not be able to identify if the data is actually copied into this particular table or not. Oftentimes when you have multiple rows of data, millions of rows of data, it will be hard to track. So that's why there is a simple method with which we can actually track what happened in the previous history. This is the same code here. So for example, let me copy that. Okay, let me first check this once again and make sure that there are no, okay, so even after 40 seconds, there is no data coming in. So I can quickly check if my actual pipe is valid, actually working or not. So this simple command will give me the status of my pipe. I can see that my particular current status is running. So that means there are no issues with the pipe being on or off. So now I can quickly check what could be the issue. So there is a simple code that will give us, let me actually, these are all simple select statements, so that's why I'm not going much detail into the query. So all of them are simple select statements. So this is just information schema that is automatically present in Snowflake database, where you can track all the loading and unloading history of each of the tables. So here we are just specifying, hey, in this schema, please track all the copy history that happened in the last 2 hours on this table. So I'm just running that statement, and I will be able to see there are two files that the first file which we loaded employee data 1 and the employee data 2 where we change the delimiter and try to see load it. But we can see here in this file there are no 0 rows encountered, and we can see the error here, what error and because of this error the rows were not loaded. So this is how, using this particular code, we can actually check from the Snowpipe if there were any files that ran into error, and we can see what the error is and treat them accordingly. So for me to treat this error, all I have to do is, since I change this delimiter and rerun the or re-upload the file, that way notification will be sent and the data will come into picture. So this is one way of dealing with errors on a simple error. So there are a couple of other steps. Let me actually actually, in the interest of time, let me stop there on time on pipes. I think those are the main concepts. Today what I'll do is I'll introduce you some other interesting feature in Snowflake called time travel. So this I'll explain what time travel is. So, and we'll explore some of the use cases where this time travel will be used. So when we say time travel, it's nothing but it's referring to data time travel. So normally, so let's say you're working on some important table and you're doing some operations update or insert or something like that, and you have mistakenly did some wrong edit or updates on the table. And what time travel allows you to do is, once the table has been updated mistakenly, you'll have ability to revert the table back to a certain point in time in backs. It's nothing but it's similar to a backup, but this feature is very normally in a conventional SQL databases, SQL or MySQL, it comes in a very hectic process. You have to actually take a database backup and then be able to restore to that particular point. So it takes a lot of time and effort and technical expertise. But here, all of that is actually simply done with a couple of lines of code, and we'll just explore that today. So there are a couple of other points that you have to remember. So since Snowflake stores all of its data in cloud services, that is making this particular time travel feature possible. So that means even if you make some changes in the data table, or even if you drop the table, all that data is actually stored in a temporary place within Snowflake servers that you will be able to get back to it within a certain period of time. And how this period of time is actually dependent on different editions of Snowflake that you use. So there are different versions of, and let's say for example the standard edition, which is the lowest level edition, it will only allow you to time travel for about a period of 1 day in the past. And there is a highest edition called enterprise edition, which will allow you to almost time travel up to 3 months in past. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. Now let's quickly test this particular time travel feature. Let me create some sample table called public test, okay, with these employee data, and I will try to fill this table with some data from S3 bucket. Let me quickly run that. Since we're already aware of these steps, I'll just skip these things. So there is a table called folder called time travel in S3 bucket, and I'm loading a file from there. And so these are I'm just trying to see what files we have in this S3 bucket folder. And there is one file called customers.csv, and I'll try to load this customers.csv into the table that I created using a manual copy statement. And I can quickly do this simple select. So now I got 1000 rows. These are the different columns that I have. Now what I'll do is I'll manually create some wrong update, and I'll see how we can use the time travel feature to remove or nullify that effect. So let's say what I'm trying to do here is, my intention is to change the first name of a particular customer, not all the 1000 customers, but a particular customer maybe where a certain email is there. But by mistaken, what I forgot to put the where clause, and I ran the statement, and what it will do is it will automatically update all the first names of all the customers to the value that I specified, and it has overwritten my table with the latest value. So now this is a genuine mistake. It could happen, and here is where, when such a situations happen, the time travel feature will come into play. There are multiple methods we can apply time travel feature to revert back to the data previously where it was. So one of those methods is a simple statement. Snowflake has put it very user friendly. So you just do a simple select statement regularly on as you do on a table, and you specify that, hey, give me this select statement at this particular time. So what this offset parameter is telling is, so this specifies number of seconds that you want to go back in time and get this result as the table is present at that particular point in time. So here I'm specifying that, hey, this is 60 seconds into 1.5 minutes. Give me the result of this table 1.5 minutes ago. And currently we can see all the first names are Joanne. Now if I run this particular statement, and we can see all the first names are actually, now we are getting the original first names. Immediately after, if it passes 1.5 minutes, again, it will at some point in time, this result will also give us Joanne, because the time passes, and you have to change this a little, increase this seconds a little bit more and get the value. So that is one way you can get it. And there is, let's assume that you don't know if it is not a recent update. Let's assume you don't know where exactly, how many seconds exactly it took place. There is another approach that you can do. So let me copy the code for that. Let me do a same mistake once again by recreating the table. So we'll just recreate this table. And all the data is there like that. What I can try to do is, there is an option called, let me first do the mistake again. Okay, first of all, let me capture a particular parameter. I'm just trying to capture that current timestamp where my data is all right. So this is my current timestamp where my data is all well. So I will just keep it there for reference. Now I'll make the wrong update, and I will see that all the similar mistake on the job site. Now I want to use this particular time where I know the data is accurate without any mistakes, and I want to use that particular timestamp and get the table reverted to that particular timestamp. And again, simple select statement, but here you specify, instead of offset, you specify before this particular timestamp object. So here we copy the timestamp which we noted down, where the table is working perfectly fine. And this particular syntax is just converting this string object into a timestamp object. So now if I run this particular, I can see at the moment all the data scientists as job column. If I run this thing, okay, just give me a second. Okay, so here it's basically telling me this is error. What it's telling me is, hey, whatever the table that you've created, it is either not existent at this particular timestamp, or your time travel abilities are not allowing you to travel up until this time in the future. It should not happen. Let me quickly do one more try. Recreate this table, get the data. All of them are loaded. Get this input, and I will copy. Okay. Let me update the same table. Yes. Okay. Okay, for some reason it's giving me error at this point in time, but it should normally work this way. I'll figure out what's happening when you specifically know that there's a particular timestamp. So typically, currently we are working in a Eastern times, US timestamps. Maybe that is something messing it up here. But normally, if I specify in a few minutes ago or few minutes after, I think this should work. And there's one last approach. In fact, so when you are working with timestamps like this could be a normal issue that you have to deal with. You will often run into this type of errors if you don't capture the timestamp well. So there is a one better approach. The third approach, will close with this one, where you don't specify any timestamp, but you specify the query ID where your table got mistakenly updated. So this is a much better and error less approach. Let me recreate this table and copy the data once again. Okay. And do a simple select statement. Now I have all the data. Well, now I'm updating wrongly. I'm just taking email to null all of them, and I'll do this once again, and all the emails are gone. Now what I can do is I'll have to capture the query ID where these emails were updated null. So I can open my history and I can see that if I elongate this here, I can see this is the update query, where all the emails were gone. I'll just copy this, open this here and copy the query ID, and I can ask to return the table how it is before this query has ran. So what I can do here is I'll just copy that query ID there and do a select statement that gives me. So here we are saying, instead of any timestamp, hey, please return the results how this table is before this particular query has been executed. So I can just run this here and this should return okay, this is messing it up. Okay, here now I can see all the emails are now currently restored. So this is a very interesting feature, and this particular time travel feature forms base to a lot of interesting features actually in Snowflake, which we will try to explore further. But yeah, essentially at the core, this will enable you to revert back any mistakes that were unknowingly done on your table and get back to the data where the table is all working fine. So if you have any questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, I'll stop sharing now.